Section 3 of Al-Ajurrumiieh, the Arabic text with the vowels and an English translation. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by Abdu'lláh. Al-Ajrumiieh, the Arabic text with the vowels and an English translation by Abdillah Muḥammad ibn Ajurrúm as-Sinhaji, translated by James Perowne. Section 2. Chapters 9 to 16. 9. Chapter on the subject and predicate. The subject is the noun in rafa', the nominative, uninfluenced by any expressly governing words. No, the predicate is the noun in rafa', which belongs to the subject. For example, Zaydun qa'im, Zayd est stans, etc. The subject is of two kinds, expressed and implied. It is expressed when mention has already been made of it. It is implied in 12 words, namely, ana, nahnu, ente, etc. As for instance, ana qa'im, nahnu qa'imun, and the like. The predicate is also of two kinds, simple and not simple. It is simple in such expressions as Zaydun qa'im, etc. It is not simple in 4 cases: when it consists of a preposition and the word governed by it, when it is adverbial, when it consists of a verb with its agent, and when it is a subject with its predicate. Thus, Zaydun fid dar, Zayd est in domo, and Zaydun indek, Zayd est apud te, and Zaydun qama abuh, Zayd stetit pater eius, and Zaydun jariyatuhu dhahibah, Zayd serwa eius abit. 10. Chapter on the governing words which exercise an influence on the subject and the predicate. These are of 3 kinds: kana and the analogous verbs, inna and the analogous particles, and dhanna and the analogous verbs. As to kana and the analogous verbs, they always have the noun, the subject, in rafa', and the predicate in nasb. They are kana, asa, etc. 13. And the different tenses of them, as kana yakun, kun, and asbaha yusbihu, isbah. Thus, kana Zaydun qa'iman, literally Zayd est stantem, and the like. As regards inna and the corresponding particles, they have the noun in nasb and the predicate in rafa'. They are inna, anna, etc. 6. Thus, inna Zaydan qa'im, literally quod ad Zayd ille est stans. Inna and anna are used to give force to the expression in a way of corroboration. Lakinna in exception, ka'anna in comparison, later in expressing a wish, and la'alla in expressing hope and possibility. Dhanantu and the analogous verbs have the noun and its predicate in nasb, because they are both of them the object of the verb. The verbs of this kind are dhanantu, hasibtu, etc. 10. Thus, dhanantu Zaydan muntaliqan, and so on. 11. Chapter on the adjective. The adjective is a word in apposition with that to which it belongs, whether it be in rafa', in nasb, or in khafd, whether it be definite or indefinite. For instance, qama Zaydul aqil, etc., etc. It is definite in 5 cases: as personal pronoun, for example, ana and ente; as proper name, for example, Zayd and Makkah; as demonstrative pronoun, for example, هذا, هذه هؤلاء, as noun with the article, for example, الرجل, الغلام, and every word which is placed in conjunction with any one of these four. Indefinite is every noun which comprehends a whole species without marking any individual of the species rather than another. Consequently, almost every word which takes the article, as الرجل والفرس. 12. Chapter on the conjunctive word. The particles of conjunction are 10, namely we, fe, thumma, etc., and hatta in some cases, and if by means of them you unite a word to a word in raf', it is also placed in raf'. If to a word in nasb, it is placed in nasb. If to a word in khafd, it is placed in khafd. If to a word in jazm, it is itself jasmated. Thus, qama zaydun wa amrun, etc., etc. 13. Chapter on the corroborative. The corroborative is a word in apposition with the corroborated word, like it is in raf', in nasb, or in khafd, and is definite. It occurs in certain words as an-nafs, etc., and ajma', and the appositives of ajma', namely akta', etc., etc., as qama zaydun nafsahu, etc. 14. Chapter on the permutative. The permutative occurs when one noun is changed for another, or one verb for another, and it follows it in the whole of its inflections. That is, the word which is substituted is always of the same inflection as the word for which it is substituted. It is of four kinds: the change of one thing for another, the change of a part for the whole, the change of the content for the containing, and the change in mistake. Thus you say, جاءني زيد أخوك. Zayd came to me, I mean thy brother, and I ate the cake, I mean a third part of it, and Zayd, I mean his learning, was useful to me, and I saw Zayd, I mean the horse. In the last instance, one would say al-faras, but makes a mistake and says Zayd instead. 15. Chapter on the nouns in nasb. The words used in nasb, the accusative, are 15 in number, namely the object of the transitive verb, the infinitive, the adverb of time, the adverb of place, the word of circumstance, definition, exception, the noun governed by la, the vocative, the predicate of the verb kana and the analogous verbs, the noun governed by inna and the analogous particles, the object on account of which a thing is done, the object wherewith, and lastly, the word in apposition with the word in nasb, which is of four kinds, namely adjective, conjunctive, corroborative, and permutative. 16. Chapter on the object of the transitive verb. This is the noun in nasb, on which the action of the verb passes. For example, ضُرِبَتْ زَيْد, etc., and it is of two kinds, expressed and implied. The expressed is something already mentioned. The implied is twofold: connected, that is joined as an affix to the verb, and unconnected, that is forming a word by itself. The connected is of 12 forms, as ضربني, etc. The unconnected is also of 12 forms, as yay, etc. End of section 2. Recording by Abdu'lláh. Recorded in Oxford, England.